Hello, everyone. We want to discuss the divorce of the former bachelorette Rachel Lindsay and her estranged husband, Brian Abasolo. Is it Abasolo? I was so happy for them, especially being able to, for an African American woman and a Latino man, them being able to overcome cultural barriers and just move on with love to marriage. But apparently, there could have been a nefarious plot in the mind of one of the members of this ex couple. I was in shock when I found out they were getting a divorce. We found that out. What was that, in 2023? I thought their marriage had been dissolved and everything had moved on. But when you ever see a situation where you have a successful woman and the man's dragging it out, there could be a situation at hand where this particular guy is trying to harvest money. He's trying to funnel what he can out of this successful wife. Oh, so unfortunate. Let's go to the article we found that covers this. Now, this article, let's give credit to the news source. This is from page 6. And it says, TV exclusive. Bachelorette alum Rachel Lindsay blasts estranged husband Brian Abasolo for exaggerating these glamorous lifestyles, trips, in the divorce petition. This was published on June 27th, 2024. My Lord, 2 days ago. It says, Rachel Lindsay is blasting her estranged husband, Brian Abasolo, for allegedly exaggerating their glamorous lifestyle in his January divorce petition. In Lindsay's responsive declaration, exclusively obtained by page 6 on Thursday, and we gave them credit, thanks page 6, the former Bachelorette star says she does not consent to Abasolo's request for spousal support and attorney's fees. Dude, you're a whole chiropractor. What are you doing? But aside from being a chiropractor, you're a doctor. Where are your funds? You want her to pay for the attorney's fees? See, guys, ladies, this is what I mean by, was there always a nefarious plot and malintention in this man from the marriage inception? I continue. It says, I am not flush with cash. And, this is according to Rachel. As he believes me to be, Lindsay 39 writes. And I certainly cannot pay this attorney $75,000 to litigate our uncomplicated divorce. If I did so, I would have, let me start over. It said, if I did so, I would not have sufficient funds remaining to pay my own counsel. Insane. So this guy, I'm going to move to other parts of the article, but he's trying to funnel money out of her to pay for his side of legal counsel. And she's exclaiming to him and everyone else that, look, paying for you, I can't pay for me. I have to defend myself against you. And we're going to talk about the importance of covering yourself, ladies, before you enter into these marital unions. And to not be so blinded by love. Still be in love. Still be head over heels. It's your birthright to be happy. But you still have to be smart, right? I continue. It says, the former lawyer claims she's not a lawyer anymore. Oh, she's not practicing. I wonder why she didn't keep that going. Phaedra Parks continued with her, her practice. She has Parks and Associates in Georgia. Why couldn't Rachel keep her firm going and just generate these multiple streams of income. Oh, I don't know how wise that was. Beautiful lady, but I am not sure how wise that was. I'll continue. It says the former lawyer claims she has approximately $88,500 in non-retirement funds. Girl. Okay. And that her financial situation has changed in the last few years. And this just breathes life into what we've been hearing a lot. And Fantasia said it best. These celebrities don't have it the way we think they do. We think, from what we see on, and because we see them on television or on the big screen or on our small screens now, right? Tablets, cell phones. We think they're extremely rich. And apparently it's not the case, especially if we consider the fact of where the roots start from, how they were brought to us anyway. If it's reality television, if it's these game shows or competition shows, they probably are in the similar boat as us. Think about it. To get on these shows, what do you call it? They auditioned, which could have been either you or I. And they were chosen. They had the it factor that would work for television when others didn't. So we give that to them for having some type of it factor or aesthetic that the public would want and feed into. But their financial situations just aren't it. Same thing with the singing shows, American Idol. What was the gospel one that they had years ago? Sunday Best from, what was it, BET? So these people admit that, hey, I kind of came here on a bus ticket. So they don't have the funds. And just because they're on TV doesn't mean they have much of anything. Some of us, like I said, out here in just regular world, right? We might be doing a little better than some of these folks. That's insane. I'll continue. And I'll pick up at the last sentence. It says the former lawyer claims she has approximately $88,500 in non-retirement funds, and that her financial situation has changed over the past few years. Lindsay currently co-hosts the Higher Learning podcast with Van Lathan. I'm going to go ahead and follow that podcast and start tuning in. I didn't know she had a podcast. I know she has the Molly Pops. Those are grapes, but did not know that she had a podcast. It says, I have sporadic social media deals, but my primary source of income since 2023 has been from my work with Spotify, she explains. The ex-reality star goes on to say that the estranged couple's marital standard of living was nowhere near as glamorous as Brian portrays it to be, alleging that the two rarely saw each other or even lived together during their brief marriage. Oh no, did not know that. So all of this was going on. According to Lindsay, she and Abasolo, he is a 44-year-old chiropractor who also hosts a podcast and receives income from social media, had a wedding ceremony in Cancun in 2019. I saw it and it was beautiful. So apparently he came up off of her name in the show. It gave him notoriety. It gave him an avenue into the public eye. So they're on equal playing field. You have a doctor and a lawyer who got together, and in the end, they put these two college-based careers aside to move into social media and podcasting, which doesn't even require a degree or a college degree. All of those years of studying. Oh, gosh. So, however, we were legally married in October 4th, 2019, she says. They agree that their date of separation is December 13th, 2023. Ugh, 4 years? And the crazy thing is they married right before the pandemic. That could have wreaked havoc on their union. That's unfortunate. Abasolo, who met Lindsay when they competed on The Bachelorette in 2017, filed for divorce on January 2nd. At all times, Brian and I maintained separate bank accounts, credit cards, retirement accounts, and brokerage accounts. We had zero joint accounts during our marriage, she writes, as she previously revealed that they did not sign a prenuptial agreement. Oh no. Come on, Rachel. Why? From October 2019 to March 2021, before we moved to Los Angeles, Brian and I had split all of the household expenses. I used my income and he used his. Since moving to Los Angeles in March of 2021, I have paid all housing costs. I repeat that sentence. Since they moved to Los Angeles in March of 2021, I have paid our housing costs. She paid them. Costs to care for our pets, including their food, medicine, daycare, boarding, vet bills, and pet insurance, and Brian's health insurance, while he paid the gardener and contributed to some of the housekeeping costs. So she was doing the heavy lifting. Oh no. According to Lindsay, the pair's marital home in LA was purchased in February of 2022 with funds from her premarital separate property. Bad again, because you're making a purchase this large and you guys separate a year and a half later. She alleges that Abasolo continues to reside in her house without contributing to any funds to carrying the cost. Isn't he the princess? He is just a whole princess at this point. Lindsay goes on to explain their travels, saying that their trips were either sponsored or they just paid their own airfare. Where is he being a man in this relationship? She definitely had the masculine role. If I was paying, I did not fly Brian business or first class. He flew economy. We generally split the hotel cost 50-50. Oh no. She pins, claiming that Brian conflates many of the trips that they took before marriage with those that they took during the marriage. Lindsay claims Abasolo fails to note that the cost of many of these non-reoccurring trips were subsidized by other sources. Before marriage, we went to Mexico twice, once to visit our wedding venue and once for our actual wedding ceremony, she says. Oh, wow. During their marriage, Lindsay explains that Abasolo took her to Santa Barbara once for her birthday, a trip that he actually paid. The NFL sent me to Tennessee once for a non-reoccurring work trip and paid for our travel as a couple, she says. I went to New York often for work. Brian sometimes accompanied me. Lindsay goes on, we went to Sarasota, Florida twice for back-to-back weddings. We went to Washington, D.C. once to attend a White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I paid for this trip. The more she's saying that she's paying for everything, I'm just trying to figure out how is she supporting her claim? I'll keep going. Lindsay claims she and Abasolo went to Colombia once to attend his cousin's wedding and that they each paid their own way and they split the hotel 50-50. My gosh. Where is he being a man in this relationship? Forget this marriage. Lindsay notes that they took one sponsored trip to Mexico during marriage with another couple from The Bachelor, adding that they did not pay for this trip. He did not mention that the trip to Aruba that were paid to take, she writes, they were paid to take that trip. Lindsay adds that the restaurants Abasolo named in his declaration are not places they frequented. For example, they went to Mother Wolf once to celebrate a special occasion. Brian paid for this meal, she said. So he paid for it. Lindsay alleges that she and Abasolo very rarely went out together, and that they did not even go on a monthly dates because Brian often worked late into the night and she traveled a lot for work. Oh gosh, so what type of, were they happy? How can you be happy being away from your spouse this much? How can they develop as a couple? And from what she's explaining here, it just simply sounds like a lot of their travels included either 50-50 splits. She paid for a couple, but it sounds like she was filling in gaps from where paid promotions, paid sponsorships. There were companies and corporations that was paying her to come out to travel. It was kind of like a workcation. Not really a vacation, but a workcation where she's working and then they can vacation while out there because you're in a new city. So you can enjoy the city when you're not working or when work is done. And it seems like she would kind of pay to fill in the gaps. But why in the heaven hells is he not paying as the husband? How can, like, I'm just thinking, if I was a man, I wouldn't feel comfortable sitting back and letting the feminine, the frail little woman pay for things like this, unless you are just coming into this, sir, to use her. You know, ladies, many don't use their intuition or listen to the voice of God. And others mistake their own feelings for a person as the voice of God, when it's actually not. A lot of people do that. They mistake their own feelings or, just personal views as the voice of God, and it's not. If you can't use discernment when choosing a mate, at least be logical, right? This can become costly for her as a woman. It can be costly for you as a woman. For her to have to pay the man, that's totally out of order. It's out of order per the Bible as well. As dominant as Jezebel was in her marriage with and over Ahab, controlling him, he still was the breadwinner. This is just out of order. Similar to Wendy Williams, who was the breadwinner, right? She had to pay her husband. And we see how that worked out. The article shows Rachel was always the breadwinner, and she brought in over $60,000 a month. Now, Brian wants to maintain the lavish lifestyle. He claims he lived with her, but she was trying to point out in that article, and I'm sure she's pointing that out in her defense in the courts, that no, it wasn't all that lavish. Most of them were sponsored work trips, and I brought you along. You accompanied me when you should have been home stacking money, sir, as a doctor. Oh wow. This is just sad. Oh, Brian, how manly of you, So was there ever truly love here, or was he simply going along for the enjoyable ride? His career as a chiropractor apparently does not add up to much, or doesn't add up to what she brings in as a celebrity now, or an influencer. Could we really trust a man from a dating show? Look at Tamar Braxton's engagement and embarrassment. That's what I call it. I call it an engagement and embarrassment. He actually was okay with not ending up with her during the show. And I'm talking about Brian. But remember, they worked it out. If you watch the show, Rachel showed that she was awestruck with him. And I believe that she was awestruck with his beauty. He's handsome. He's a beautiful man. Gorgeous. And I think that's what she was drawn in by, because he wasn't really charming on the show and wasn't that romantic. So I'm not sure what else would have been the hook for her to really choose him as the winner. I was happy they worked it out, But after all of these years, I find out they weren't on one accord regarding family and children, which can happen when getting engaged on a television show. Similar to Tamar Braxton, I think both of these women wanted these men as true partners, but Brian, just like JR, Tamar's ex, these men had other plans and was apparently just looking to become famous. Ladies, let me know what you think about that. So before you get serious dating, before I go, don't forget these tips. Intuition must be used. Check every red flag possible. Don't be awestruck by looks. And cover those issues in a non-combative way with your significant other. Also, petition God about this person early during the dating phase, ladies, before your feelings even develop. If you do this early before you develop feelings for this person, that gives you the opportunity to flee without feelings being involved. And then lastly, don't throw all of your eggs in one basket, So make sure to keep the cookies to yourself while dating to filter out the best man or candidate for the job. This is the time, that you should have petitioning God to see if this is someone you should keep in the running. Ultimately, that person will win you, right? It's a competition. Men love competition. This is what they're about. They're hunters. They're hunters and gatherers. You are not, as the woman. So they love competition. That's why they love video games so much. That's a whole nother thing. But it's just the art of war, the competition. They love it. So give them what they want while let them compete. But you should be going to your God counsel while the competition is raging amongst the men. And keep feelings out of it. Petition God early. Look at red flags early before you catch feelings so that you can filter out early. Once marriage is brought up, ladies, once marriage is brought up, to keep your future household in the correct order, discuss money and prenuptial agreements early. Don't do this after you have feelings for this person, because feelings are going to make things cloudy. Discuss money, prenuptial agreements early so you don't, continue on blindly. Get the hard stuff out of the way early while you two are madly in love. Not, God forbid, after you two hate each other in the middle of a divorce after a separation. It's the wrong time. That would be the wrong time. Well, that's all for now. We'll check back in. But before I go, don't forget to check out our ebook, the P31 Single, in the description box for great advice for that woman on her journey for greatness and complete happiness before marriage while still in her singlehood. Bye-bye.